run from Power down to town, includes the gazebo part, the city parking lot, and that one little section of Bell Street, between Merrill and Kendrick.
Kevin, any problem with that?
I guess the only concern I might have, Jason, is, Main Street could be torn up.
So I did talk to Shane Mintz about this, because I had the same concern. And so I had a call with Shane Mintz first of last week, and, I mean, at the time, Shane couldn't tell me specifics, but what I did get from Shane was he did not see why their project would impact our event. Because of the fact that they're not actually tearing up the street, they're restriping, remarking, and he said that, he said a lot of things, but none of it was, I think he never any time said, I think you need to move your event. In fact, he said quite the opposite, that he didn't see it being a problem.
Great. Did he say anything about 4th of July parade?
He did not say anything about that. I didn't ask him about that. Sorry, I didn't think to ask him. I probably should have asked him about that, because I know that might be another issue.
Right.
So.
Would you mind asking him?
Yeah, I can ask him. I probably should follow up with him anyway, with him that the project has started. So, yeah, I don't mind.
So you're gonna ask him, I don't have to?
What's that?
You're gonna ask him, I don't have to?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll take that off your plate, Frank.
Good deal. Thank
Anybody
you.
know the ETA of how long that's supposed to take?
The whole project?
The whole project. Probably, I'm guessing the entire construction season, probably.
No, it should be quicker than that, but.
Well, because they're not tearing up, they're just restriping. Probably just the summer, I would hope.
Yeah,
No,
they're
yeah,
just
no.
adding and restriping. I mean, the barriers that they're doing, they're just adding to the top.
Yeah, it shouldn't, it's not a huge reconstruction. It's a reconfiguration.
They're doing some bump outs for traffic.
Yeah, especially up by the high school, I
Yeah.
know they're doing that. And I'll stick around if you want to officially talk about that real quick, but other than that,
No, that's okay. It's not really on our agenda.
well, I think just officially here in the meeting, I say the same thing we were saying before, that they did present this to us before. Dan Wade was good, right? Okay, so they did talk to us about this before, MDT did. I know that I was in that meeting, Betsy was in that meeting. I think there are a lot of people, and I understand people out there who are upset about the changes being made. I don't love all the changes being made, I live down there, and to have to not be able to come up north on Douglas anymore and only be able to turn on the Merrill coming out, that, is that ideal? Do I love that? No, I don't, and I
For
express
the
that.
amount of people that I have encountered over the years that come smoking out from underneath the underpass, that don't even look.
Don't even look.
Across,
Yeah.
down
And
Douglas.
I understand that, Kevin, and I know that's why MDT is making the change, because they've identified it, in their opinion, and they're the traffic engineers, it's a dangerous intersection, and I understand why, and it is, because for people who don't know, I mean, if you live here long enough, I think you learn kind of the unofficial rules of that intersection.
Yeah.
But for people who don't know, and there's a lot who don't know, because we have 100,000 people a year going into Makoshica who are making that turn, they don't know, and so, yeah, I think the potential is pretty high there for.
Did they ever do a study on the accidents that have occurred there over the years?
Yeah, well, as far as what's driven this is that study, so. It's inconvenient, it blows, I understand it,
So-
but I think and again, we talked about the potential alternatives, but they had specific reasons why they didn't think it was a good candidate for a traffic light, why they didn't think it was a good candidate, why it was impossible to put a roundabout there, which I think would be their preference to do if there was the real estate to do it, because that's what they're doing. They're gonna put roundabouts in Fairview.
Yeah.
But there's just not the real estate, the way that the streets come together, it's a funky angle, the hill, the underpass, it just creates kind of an odd situation right there, and they're dealing
Frank,
with
what were you
it.
gonna say?
So I think what the change that I'm seeing in that before is, yes, they were gonna send traffic this way, but there was a provision in there where you could still close this road off, because they would be able to drive around
And we
that
did-
part
that
and
was-
go down
yeah.
Douglas, and that is where we had left it, and initially I think that was the
And
design.
they took that out because that was about.
They did, they
and
took
that was
that
about
out
being able
now.
to keep our street closure going because we use the Epic for so many events.
Okay,
and
so
parades
that
and
is
stuff.
gone now.
Okay, so that
So
does
that
concern
piece
me.
has been
Okay.
extended out, and you will not be able to do that
So they put in that
anymore.
whole
So you will
barrier.
not be able to close this road right here at all anymore, unless you go to Power here.
Okay. Well, that does create.
So that's what I saw, and that's
That's
what
what
I'm
you
bringing
saw?
up, cause that barrier is extended out there, and you're not gonna be able to do that now.
Okay. Now, that
And
is-
initially, that was the
Yeah.
issue,
We
cause
had that
you can
conversation.
still access the backside of the Epic, you just have to come up the barrier side.
Yeah.
You know, but, so it's still there, it's a little more inconvenient, but it's a weird intersection, it's
Well, I would say
It's
that.
a
How far is
problem.
that barrier gonna extend this way?
quite a ways. I was just looking at that picture you had.
Well, I did, but you really can't, I mean.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at too, is it goes out farther enough, it goes out past the front of the Epic.
Cause is it gonna turn this into an enter into the Epic and not an exit? Or you
Right.
could still be able to turn into the Epic on the other lot, the other.
It looks like I don't know if you'll be able to. I think the only enter you're gonna have is there. You're gonna be clipping that.
Yeah, I looked at that, and it looked like the whole front of it here was buried.
Yeah, if they do that,
That's
we
not-
have to visit
we
with them about
didn't-
that.
That's why I got the email.
Because I talked to Mike Carlson over the weekend and he mentioned that and I was like. I
Because
don't
we had that
remember
conversation with
that.
them about making sure that we would be able, and we were adamant about that, and they said yes to that.
Because if
Keeping
you
that
look at
open,
if you
so
look
that
at the
you-
new.
If you look at their new design, you can't do that anymore.
Okay, well, if they're doing.
And maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. But I think there needs to be a conversation.
Well, since I got to call Shane anyway, I can ask him about that, because we certainly had that conversation with their engineers about this very thing, about making sure that at the end of the day, whatever.
Okay, so now my email is relevant.
It is relevant, Frank, thank you.
Now that you explained
Now
it,
that you explained that.
I wonder if one of those guys could be the.
I know I was adamant about that.
Where's that? The new design, right?
Cause the way that picture looks with their updated thing, there's only one way into the Epic, that one's just gonna be a total exit only.
Yeah.
You won't be able to
And
turn
and
in.
as Frank said, if you can't close the street right there in front of our main event center,
And that's what my email reads, and that's what that paper reads. Is
and that affects lots.
you're losing. I mean, it was.
That
I
affects a
understand
lot
the
of
safety. I
events.
understand everything, but we want to make sure we can still close that street out there because you got your 4th of July parades. You
You've
got
got your
all
gate
your stuff
expo,
going on.
you've got all that stuff that goes on there.
So,
Spring flames and everything, and, you know, some
you
of
talked
those events
to-
close the street.
I haven't talked to him. I just wrote that email and just sent it, and then I came down here. You want my email? Do you have it? Not that one.
Okay, we'll go back to number one, update. on nuisances.
No, yeah, I don't have that, but I looked at that. But I sent it because what they included, I want to make sure that what's going on is.
I'd like your email address, that's why I said I have it.
Yeah, I know you got that.
I'm deaf, so I need you guys to.
So, I don't know, it's been almost a month ago, but Betsy and I drove by all the nuisance properties in Glendive. And we found a couple houses that were on the nuisances are now gone, and they're just empty lot, $400,000, the house is gone. And the house by the middle school is gone. Otherwise, most of the nuisances we think are about the same. 522 Bell, Lee Driver, that looks good. 502 North Lee, that's the one by the high school, that is abated, the house is gone. The rest of them, like 825 Dove, that's the Bonner house, that's in about the same condition. We noticed that some of the things were gone from the front, but it looks like we saw them up by the garage, and that has already had a third notice from when Leon was still here, and that it was going to Public Works to either talk to the people or determine if the city needs to come in and do something with that stuff. Anyway, I just felt like, you know, I've been the mayor, well, at that time for 6 months, and I hadn't really looked at them or done anything about them, so I'm not sure what the committee wants to do, and with just only half of you here, I'm not sure that we really can do anything, but I did want you to know that we did look at them all and made a note about them, so. And I haven't got any new nuisances since I became mayor. I mean, I haven't had anybody turn in a nuisance complaint. So, Dave Steiner's house is another one that we were moving forward with because, the neighbor, Maddox, is suing Dave Steiner and the city of Glendive, and they're both being sued by Maddox, so, it's because the city has not followed through to force him to do something, but as you can see, Dave, is putting a new roof on the house, and, I think at this point, we should just allow him to do what he's doing and just maybe, I don't know, check on him in a month, I'm thinking, just to make sure that he's, continuing, during the time that this can be done, because I know he couldn't do anything about it in the dead of winter. I mean, you don't expect him to go over there and fix it, at least I didn't, but, this is the time that he needs to be working on it, because it still does have broken windows, and there are concerns with, animals getting in there and things like that, so.
At least he's making a conscious effort to.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
he is, and so, good for him. I mean, I know that it's a little bit overwhelming when you look at it, so.
He also has purchased siding, and he's hired contractors to do the work and planted some grass, and
Oh, good.
I think that he's really done a lot, and, we should thank him for that. But still, we wanna see it to completion.
Yeah, well, I appreciate him, showing the initiative, so that's good. And then, yeah, like I said, a couple of places, the houses are gone, and then there's some that look like they're still abandoned and in not the best shape, so.
Hey Frank,
Yes,
did you ever check on the pallet deck?
I did, it's temporary, they had their steps fall in, so they just have them up there until they get the money to fix them right.
Oh,
Okay.
So it's not a deck, it's just the steps, replacing the steps, so it's not gonna get any bigger or anything. It is what it is, it's gonna stay that way until they can afford to, build the steps.
okay.
So, I guess they haven't been in there very long, and I don't know how long they've been in that house.
Year and a half, 2
Year
years.
and a half, yeah, so she's like, oh yeah, we're trying to get things fixed, and that just happened.
Well, I was actually impressed they mowed the front yard, that's the first time they've mowed it since they've been there.
Well, good.
We're
Some of the weed
still gonna
notice.
have the backyard where the weeds are gonna be.
Oh, man. Well, I will send a letter on that, but.
I agree with that.
Yep, I did talk to her. She actually came in here.
Just the pallet deck was a little over the top.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on number one?
No, I don't think so. Unless you had any questions, or, it was just the drive-by is all we really did.
So number two, establish guidelines to maintain record of past practices, promises made by the city, demolition, flooding issues, sign at tennis court, splash park, gazebo, shed at West Park, etc.
Well, for me, this has, been, I don't know, at least a monthly thing that I get called by somebody that we need to do something that we used to do in the past, but, it's passed before Frank or before me, or, so I'm just concerned of how we're gonna keep track, after I'm gone, which won't be long, how we're gonna keep track of these things. Like, I feel like we should have something in writing when the city agrees to do something. If the city did agree to keep a sign up at the tennis court, it should be written down somewhere, or if, we have an agreement that we will stain the gazebo every other year or something. It should be somewhere so that we can budget for it. Now, there is a shed at West Park, it did need a new roof. Ted found some shingles and tawed up, shingled it. Now that is where they keep the tennis, nets over the winter. Now last winter they didn't get taken down, so they froze. When they freeze to the ground like that and the wind blows, then they get stretched out, they get ruined. So we ended up going half and half with the tennis association, but after they bought the nets and put up the sign for no dogs on the tennis court, that took care of all the rest of the money that they had, and there's only 2 members left in that group, and they're disbanding. So without another group, you know, agreeing to do this stuff, you know, it does end up being on the city property. I mean, the tennis courts are in the city park, and they are owned by the city, but, you know, we don't have the kind of money to repurchase those things, and I think it's great that people come together, like for the splash park, to build it and all that, but then we need money for operations and maintenance of it, and I'm not sure exactly what to do, but I want to bring it to the ordinance committee to see if you think we need to add an ordinance, or we need to do something so that we have a record of these things and they can be budgeted for. You know, otherwise, you know, it's the mayor or somebody, or Frank sometimes getting a call and saying, you know, when are you coming to do this? It hasn't been done for, you know, 5 years or whatever. Well, how do we know? We don't know if it's not documented.
So an ordinance, is there a sample ordinance from anywhere?
Well, I can look for one. I was just looking for guidance to see if you think we need an ordinance or if we just need to.
I don't know about an actual ordinance, but there should be, I mean, I totally agree with the documentation.
Yeah.
There's gotta be something.
Right, well, we could also take it to the council for discussion, then we would have the whole group, and they might have a better option, unless, you know, you have one over there, Frank, idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a problem, it just is, cause, I mean, it's funny, cause people, you know, I think some of it's accurate and some of it's just not. I mean, you can tell by when I took over for Jack, the next 3 months were people knowing that I took over and calling me saying, hey, the city used to do this, why are they not doing this? Well, of course, I'm gonna check it, so I called Jack, and Jack's like, no, well, that did not happen, no. Or even just talk to my neighbor, Wilbur's like, no, we've never done that, we would never do that, and this is why we don't do it.
Is there any, maybe?
So some of that stuff doesn't even fall in the category of even making a list, because I think sometimes people just are trying to see what they can get away with, I think. And you can't make an ordinance for that.
If there's a group that comes to us, like for the skate park and initially.
Yeah, and I think stuff like that, there's gotta be,
Like
a
a
perfect
form to
example
fill
is the Makoshika walking path. How do we maintain that? How do we take care of that? I've gotta fix that light pole out there, I'm trying to figure out how to do it. Bunch of crews in town right now, so I'm gonna see what it costs to actually do something and try to get that fixed while we can, but, you
Where's
know,
that
it's a great path, it's great to have, but the bulbs, the globes.
Oh, yeah, when we do the sidewalk project out here going out to the fairgrounds, I hope we can find a more cheaper.
Oh, we will, because
Those
I'm the
bulbs
one,
are what,
yeah, oh, no,
400
we'll definitely, something we can actually get.
Yeah, and.
Yeah, no, that's a whole, but we won't use fancy, I mean, no offense, but you just put a standard LED.
Yeah.
We're not getting out of control with any of that, because I wanna be able to replace the stuff and maintain the stuff, and that's a big part of it. The globes are like $400.
And there's 4 of them on every pole.
No, there's one on every pole, I just order 4 every year.
Oh.
One on every pole, it takes me a couple of years, and I didn't take out of the budget this year, that way I can get them and have them sitting, because they're only gonna go up in price. But a hailstorm takes them out, and then they don't look good. And you can't have stuff like that just deteriorating, because, I mean, you let those go for a couple of years and try to replace them all in 1 year, that's a hit on a budget. So you've got to have an O&M, you've gotta pay attention to that stuff, and same with the splash park, we've gotta have that maintenance on it every year, cause when we can't afford to do it, and that's been the past, we just haven't had the money to do it. And that's just, it's the reality of things, you know, but we've gotta be able to set a little money aside, because you fix it every year and you put $1,000 in, just rough numbers, but you put it, it's just like a vehicle. If you let your shocks go long enough, your ball joints go out, your tie rod ends, then you need new tires, chain effect. But if you just replace the shock or the ball joint right off the get-go, you wouldn't have had to fix everything else, and that's the problem we run into. You know, if I can fix the globe quick enough, the hail doesn't hit the light bulb and break the light bulb. And possibly, you know, just that chain reaction stuff, if we can stop it earlier and fix the little problems, they don't turn into big problems down the road. And
So it kinda sounds like maybe, if we establish guidelines to maintain record, that would be done by you.
yeah. And we do keep a record of, we have record of Splash Park, we have record of all of that.
But initially, when a group does.
I just think anytime we do anything like that, you know what it would look like? I think there should be something on, anytime we accept anything like that, or anytime there's a donation or something like that, there's a plan for O&M.
Oh, yeah, we have to do
Any
something.
plan, some kind of plan for O&M. Anytime I go out to bid from now on a project or anything like that, even this downtown improvement thing that I'm working on, I want O&M in the plan. I want money in that plan for street restoration 6 months later or 2 years later, but the quicker you do a surfacing, even on new asphalt, the better off you are. Like all the stuff that we're doing now, all these are gonna be paved. We need to have in our plan, we gotta have an O&M. We have to take care of our roads that we're fixing. That way, 20 years from now, they don't look like the ones we haven't fixed.
So if we have a form, a standard form for a group or anyone to fill out,
I don't know if it'd be a standard form, because that form would look so different for a splash park versus a road or anything else. So I think it's just a policy that there's O&M I don't know if it's a policy. I think we just pay attention to it and we do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I brought it up, because it is
It's an
something
issue.
that I feel kind of foolish when, you know, people call me, and I don't know the answers to all the questions, and I say that, you know, that I'll look into it. But I think sometimes they think I'm just bringing them along.
Well, people take it, what's bad is people take advantage of you not knowing.
I think it should be a policy. I don't think an ordinance, I think it should be a policy. Cause like what you're saying, Frank, is that you have to budget for it. Cause,
well, why don't we take it to the full council and we can discuss it there.
Sounds good to me. I can send out a voting. Anyway.
Okay, number 3, look at mayor's suggestion for changes at ordinance.
Here's the changes I'm making. I did read the entire ordinance book, and I have spent some time on it. So the legal publishing did send us the questionnaire. It's basically, you know, asking for the names of the department heads and how often do we want to do revisions, and are we okay with them doing it in the style of capitalization and grammar, but it's done now, or do we have a different format that we want? So, I mean, I'm just saying, just try to keep it as similar as we can. But too bad Jason left, because I'm sure he would not have liked to hear my remarks about his 30-page dog ordinance. But I'm gonna say that what I found doing these ordinances is that when we already have a standard, like a state standard or a federal standard for, say, what is considered adequate food, what is considered adequate shelter, what is considered a pet, all these things, that we don't need that in our ordinance, because like our building ordinances, we say we follow the American standard or whatever. So I'm gonna recommend that we do that with our ordinances as well, and some of these are a little bit more detailed than we really need, and some need changing. And some of them just need to be you know, we changed the police commission to match the MCA. We already made those changes. And then, I don't know, just, like when a nuisance is abated, it said, the city personnel shall prepare and file with the county clerk and recorder a certificate stating that the nuisance has been abated. So, I mean, I just had a question about that because in my time, you know, 2 people have cleaned up their property and I, you know, as far as I know, that hasn't been, cleared at the clerk and recorder at the county, or they haven't been given a certificate. And so some of this, I guess, is just that, you know, I don't know it, and I don't think that everyone else has necessarily read all the ordinances either. But, some of these can be, simplified, and like I said, I'm not sure how we wanna do this when it comes time to do it, if we wanna have a long meeting and go through the book, and, like I said, I have read every page, and I put a little mark, and there's quite a few of them on things that do need, updating. At this point, I don't know that the ordinance committee really has to do it either, because this company will look at everything for legality and for, duplication, and to make sure that if it's in one part of an ordinance and it needs to be included or, you know, sprung over to another part, they make sure that all that happens. So I think if we can have the best we can get it, then we'll just monitor it as they're updating it. This question.
Would it make more sense to have them do theirs first, to make sure everything coincides with everything else, and then we come in
And I thought that
change what
too,
you
Kevin,
change.
because according to this, you know, we will have, they'll present every change to us. So, that might be an option too.
Cause that way we know we're on the legal side and everything else.
Right, yeah. I'm all for whatever. I just know that some of these ordinances are old. And if we can get everything updated, then miraculously, I believe we can get all this on our website. And so that people can go to our website. I'll admit that I'm not that technical of a person. I don't even have the password to our website, so you don't find me doing anything on there, but I can see that, we need to have more things on our website, because it's not the 1900s anymore.
Well, moving forward, should we kind of do what Kevin said, let them take the lead on it, and then revisit?
Sure, cause I've got
Then
mine.
we'd have the legal side of it and
Right.
everything. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, with-
Right. I mean, that's their business. It is.
And if there's a lot of duplication and everything in there, they can get rid of it. And I think it would simplify the process for us.
Oh, yeah, quite a lot.
And so we'll let them do their work, and then we will review it
Yeah.
and suggest our changes.
Right. If they don't catch what I identified, I guess, or someone
Okay.
else might, yeah.
Okay. Anything else on that? Okay, number 4 we already did with Jason. So, any public comment? Carrie?
Hey guys, I just have a question real quick. Maybe you remember last year, because I know Deb wasn't here. When Frank said he had ordered new signs for Mead and River.
I wish he was here.
I know. That's-
You sent me an email about
Right,
that,
and you
though.
were gonna respond back to me?
I
because-
forwarded it to Frank, but you never heard back from him?
No,
So they're not up?
they're still not up.
Okay. Well, we'll find out about it.
Find out.
Okay.
In a chapter and,
Mead. So I have in my yard is where it changes to 25.
right,
And we were gonna take it all the way down to the end of the 400 block to 15. And then the reverse side of River was gonna change to 15.
Okay.
So speed limit signs.
Yeah, the speed limit signs. Do you remember when we were talking about that? Cause I think it was Aaron Kaufman came in and talked from MDT.
I don't think I was here for that meeting, but I think I remember reading the minutes of it.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be done and the signs that came in at like October of last year.
Okay. I'll have to follow up on it.
Yeah, cause I had sent her an email about it. I don't remember when I sent you that email. I think it was.
Well, it was late, in the late fall, and I just forwarded it to Frank, and I just assumed it got taken care of, cause I never heard back again about it, so.
Yeah, so.
Anyway.
Well, I figured they couldn't put concrete in the middle of the winter,
You're
so.
probably right. I mean, it could be a variety of reasons, and it could be that he just forgot. I mean, honestly,
I was just thinking before the next school
I
year.
remember all that discussion now.
Yeah.
Well, we'll follow up and see where it goes.
Yeah.
And get Frank's word on it.
Okay.
Thank you, Terry.
Yep, you're welcome.
Brenda, anything you want to comment on?
No.
Okay. We'll close the meeting 4:33 p.m. Okay. Alrighty.
Well, I had the first 2 good days.
I'm really you had good days over
Oh,
there. Yeah.
I purposely opened it on Memorial Weekend just because I wanted it to be slow.
Oh, yeah. Good.
So that way we get accustomed to everything and whatnot, and we're learning what people want me to get in.
Well, good. Do you want me to take notes and do the report from personnel too?
If you don't
I
mind.
sure can.
Okay.
Kevin, do you want to meet? Do you want to do it?
For the personnel,
Do the personnel meeting?
are you the vice president of personnel or?
I don't think I'm in any official capacity anywhere, right?
I think you are.
I think you are.
Who's the other 2 missing pieces? So Doug?
Doug and Clyde.
Okay, so, yeah, so Doug takes Clyde. Oh, and so you are Betsy's backup. You
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
okay, that, you are
Them two
the
are together,
ordinance.
and
Okay, all right, so, we don't have a lot of stuff on the personnel thing. Three, just few. One that I wanna address, number one, the credit card policy. We have a policy and a procedure. So, I guess we've had a few problems with the credit card in that sometimes the people, don't turn it back in or whatever, so like, the department head has a credit card, and the last time we had a problem, somebody used the credit card to go to training, when the credit card was maxed out, or something to that effect. So, it's been discussed that we could keep the credit cards here at City Hall, and when somebody needs to go on a training or whatever, and they need the credit card, then they could check one out, and that might eliminate some of the, late fees and some of these other things, but just from my perspective, I just always think if you have a policy, why don't we just enforce it? Because the policy can answer a lot of our questions, and, here's, like, when we would give the credit card to someone, there's a user agreement with it, that, that it's for business related goods, and that you have to keep the receipt, because if you don't have the receipt, you have to pay for the item, and we just had to do that to someone who could not find the receipt. A lot of times you can call the store, but if you're out of town at a gas station, you don't exactly remember what time you got gas, you don't have the receipt, we can call the credit card company and get the thing, but we're trying to put the responsibility on the user that did it. I mean, they can call them too.
we are up there.
Yeah, because right now, we still don't have a director of operations. Are we ever gonna get one? I don't know, it's really hard. We interviewed that guy for a police officer. By the time he got back to Colstrip, his wife had seen some stuff on Facebook that they didn't wanna move here. So I think that's another issue, is that I think people don't realize that when they're putting some of this negative stuff, that it makes it hard to get people to come here. But the credit card policy, I mean, we have one, and we feel like it needs to be, they need to follow it.
So why not keep it credit cards at City Hall and have people, is that what the policy says?
No, each department has a credit card, and the department head has it, and you check it out from the department head. But I mean, like, I have a credit card, I've been here now for 7 months, I've never used it, you know, if I get cheap or something, I'll just buy them or whatever. But they could sure use my credit card, you know, when they're going out of town, because this reduces the problem if somebody happens to use their own credit card, and that gets to be a little bit sticky. So I don't have a problem with asking everybody to keep their card at City Hall, but let's just remember that, you know, it's pretty soon, for a while here, this summer, it's just gonna be Jess and I. And so, do we wanna be taking all that responsibility when really, if the department heads follow the policy, you know, I don't like to give somebody else more work, when we really haven't tried to enforce what we already have, but.
Well, why don't we just let you enforce it
Okay, we'll just,
and maybe revisit it in 6 months and see how it's working?
yep, we'll enforce the policy, and if there's any action we need to take to the, council, I don't think so.
Just to make everyone aware of it, and
Okay.
that we'll check
Just
that.
an FYI.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
an FYI, okay. And I'll make sure that everybody in the city gets one.
And maybe in November, we'll check back with you and see how it's
Oh, is
going.
that 6 months, is November already? Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Purchasing policy,
Yes.
I found this in the purchasing policy.
Wow.
So, I did, read through it, and once again, I think we should be following our own purchasing policy. And I know that you got us all these other purchasing policies from Three Forks, and, you know, and I'm not opposed to implementing, some of these other policies, like the Three Forks one is just a simple little
Yeah.
form.
Yeah.
But really, ours is pretty simple too. So,
For the longest time, this was missing.
well, you know, I don't know how to explain this, but when Kitty left, well, I'm not gonna dredge up the past of people who've left and not provided clear direction for access to documents. But so, we were able to get some help so that I could have access to Kitty's email, so that was in her email. And so that's where I got it, it's a draft, so it wasn't in our policies. And that was when I found out that, you know, we had some reports that were overdue and some other things too, so. Maybe we should just have the whole, council look at it, and then if we wanna implement a different policy, that's fine, but this is Kevin's policy that Kitty revised, is what I would say, is what that is right there.
Is that what Kevin said?
Yeah, he said he had a policy and that is a revision of it,
That Katie did.
yes, but we're assuming, cause it was in Kitty's.
But so it's never been, there's no resolution
No,
number, so it's never been in
never been-
effect.
Well, Kevin's was in effect, but it
Okay.
got pulled tabled at some point, and then this one was gonna be the new policy, but it never got approved, or, you know, I don't know what happened. There's no, date on it, it just says 2023.
Well, it says revised 2019.
That was Kevin revised
Yeah.
it, yeah, but up there it
Up
says
here.
revised 2023.
Yeah, and you know, this was one thing that Kitty and I were gonna work on before everything really got messy. So I think that, you know, all good intentions were there, you know,
Oh, yeah.
but we never finished.
Yeah.
So, would there be any reason for our attorney to look through it?
Oh, it could be an idea, I always forget that, but I'll have him look at it. And then if we wanted, you know, a simpler one, like this one-page one, which is, that was great, some of them are, you know, are pretty long, you
Yeah.
know, a lot longer than ours, that's for sure. But,
You know, there were a couple things that, the reason why we started working on the purchasing policy was to encourage department heads to purchase things in town to support local businesses. That was one thing. And there was a few other things too, but within one of those, it does encourage, you know. And if you don't buy it locally, then you produce the reason why. If it's more expensive somewhere else or whatever it is.
yeah, sometimes they don't have it, or,
But there again, it's just,
Sorry.
okay, so, let's see, follow the current policy and attorney review?
sure. And then I don't think that the next one, number 3, requires the council to do anything, because I don't think they really approve the personnel manual, but, you know, we've got the, public works guys going to the 410s, and we got rid of the scale operator to the utility worker, so there's a few changes that we need to update that manual, and I can try to work on that next week, maybe before the council meeting, and then bring the changes to the council.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we've got one union contract coming up this year. The police contract was only 1 year. So at the end of June, their current contract that they're under will be done, and they're representing themselves going forward. So, I met with, I didn't really meet about like the union or about the contract or anything, but I did get asked if the city would consider, a wellness program for the employees, where they could, the city would either pay for or pay for part of a membership at a gym. So I asked around, the few people that do go to the gym, what gym they would want to go to, and it seemed like it was overwhelming. Mokoshiko Wellness is where they'd like to go. So I called Sarah Plummer, and I, told her that we have about 50, full-time employees, if this was an option. What kind of a deal could she give us for, gym membership? So she said with 50 people, she could offer us half price. So it's normally, $40 a month, but it would be $20 a month for 50 people. That totals $1,000 a month for the city, which, the Cooper Committee, I already talked to them about this, and they are not in favor of it. So I would like to be able to offer a gym membership, and I would like to encourage our employees to be healthy. So I'm wondering if the $20 a month, if it might be something that you would support. the city pays $10 and the employee pays $10, so we split it and then people sign up. So that we know that it's gonna be used rather than, paying for 50 people when we might only get 20, 30, I don't know. But Sarah said she would also give, like, if the person is part-time, but they're a veteran or a student, she'd give them $5 off. And then if you wanted your son or your husband, to join with you, she would just charge $10 for an additional family member. So it'd be $20 per person, but, if Sam wanted to go, it would be another $10. So I'm thinking, personally, like if the city contributed the $10, then the employee wanted to throw in the other 10, or, have their family, that might be more manageable. I know it would be an incentive for the police. They're probably as far as a group of people, the police are probably the ones who use it would use it the most, I think. The public works guys, they weren't too thrilled with that idea. So thankfully their contract isn't down next year. But anyway, so I just thought I'd bring it forward. That's what I know. It was only 2 people at the FOOPer and they weren't in favor of it. So it wasn't the full FOOPer. So I kind of feel like we should take it to the council and see what they think about the wellness.
Just a real quick, call the insurance company you guys have, your health insurance companies. Some health insurance companies do incentives for that, and you wouldn't have to pay for it at all.
I think they did that before, Carrie. With ours, it's nobody here that with our MMIA insurance. But I mean, I could check for myself. But that's.
And there's also a grant for police department to have a gym built for them. I already looked into that when I worked out there.
Well, again, we're not a nonprofit, and so some of these grants we just.
It's not a nonprofit grant. It's underneath law enforcement. I'd have to look it up again. It's law enforcement something for like betterment of EMS and all the rest of that stuff. Yeah, it's a betterment grant for health.
Instead of $1,000, the city would pay $500.
Right.
With them chipping in the rest of theirs.
Right.
A maximum.
That's if 50 people sign up, which I don't really see happening. But
What do you think?
well, I'm trying to be open-minded because I've never been to a gym.
That's me,
I wouldn't spend $10 to go to a gym, but anyway, I understand that it is important to some people, and especially when you're in that kind of a job where you need to get that stress out some way, whether you run or, and it's better than, sitting at the bar drinking alcohol, so.
Like Wyatt,
Yeah.
he's fire and paramedic and everything, he goes to the gym every morning, and he's religious about it.
Yeah.
You going to the gym?
Yeah.
So,
I think the council should.
Well,
we
we
should take
can-
it forward.
We'll take it forward, okay.
I think it'd
be good for discussion.
Okay, then this mid-month pay draw, I'm skipping to number 6 right now because number 5 is gonna take me a little bit longer. I don't think it's really necessary. I've had a couple of people in public works tell me that it will get abused right away. I don't know if that's true, but, I guess they've gone 50 years without having one, so I don't know if I wanna open that door, but it's the council's decision. Darcy brought it forward because when she went to the training, there's 2 towns that are on monthly pay. that do allow it. Both towns said it's not been abused, but one town, and I can't remember which one it was now, said it's only been asked for one time, and it was an emergency. So I feel like if we're gonna do it, we need to have some parameters for when you can do it.
Could we look for a policy from a city that has it?
Oh, yeah, let's do that. I'll ask Darcy to get us a policy from one of those towns.
Because I think it was at the Hoover Committee who talked about this.
Right.
I think it would be something that, in an emergency situation, it would help. We as a city could help the employee.
Right.
I don't understand how it could be abused if it was spelled out very clearly.
Well, I kind of thought it goes with incentives for employees, you know, because what I'm told is the hardest time is when we first hire somebody, and then they start, and you don't get paid till, you know, you're only paid once a month. But I don't know that that's that odd, because, you know, I work for the state, and then you work 2 weeks, and your time goes in, and you don't get paid for 2 weeks, so it's still you're working for a whole month before you get paid. So, I don't know, it's kind of a wash, but anyway.
Well, and I think if we do decide to do that, it should be looked at as a perk.
Right, I think
And
so too.
It should be used at the time that we're negotiating.
And that's gonna be coming up in a month. Okay, then, I got a pretty complicated freedom of information request, and so I am absolutely not exactly sure how to fulfill it, cause I do not understand it. So I did go to the Montana Code annotated, and public information requests and fees are 2-61006. So it, you know, it says, within 90 days of our acknowledgement of the request, or 6 months if the agency determines 90 days is not feasible, then we can provide notice explaining, you know, why it's not feasible. But as I read through the code, it says each executive branch agency must have a designated contact for public information requests posted on its website. So it says by November 1st, 2024, an executive branch agency shall establish a public information request process describing the steps for submitting a request and the process the agency will follow when responding to a request for public information, which must be published on a state website. Then the agency must provide statistics about public information requests received by the designated contact of the agency, including the number of requests and the agency's response time to fulfill or otherwise resolve the request. Then we must retain and publish on the website the public information requests we've received and our response. It says the agency is not required to publish requests or responses if the response was not submitted according to our process, or was for information accessible on the website that they could get themselves, or we are authorized to charge fees, and the fees must be set and deposited in accordance with 215-405, and all fees have to be paid in advance. So, this, request that I got is, and I guess once you get a public request, the request itself is public. So, I am not even sure how to do it, and I have no idea what to charge for it, so we're going to have to get our contract IT person to look at it and to determine, how we get the information and what we charge for it based on how long it will take. And of course, then the attorney also has to review it, because some things are public records and some things are not. So, it gets pretty complicated, but I had not heard that before, that we had to do this by November, which again is only 6 months away. And who do we have be the contact, and how do we set all that up? So, it's gonna be, a little bit of work.
So by November, we have to have what in place, the contact person?
We have to have a contact person, we have to, have a policy, we have to have the fees listed, and then we have to put on there all the requests. So if someone requests something, their request will be made public.
And then whatever's found after the policy has been fulfilled, that's also public.
Right, and yeah, so we have to put all that out there too. So I have had a lot of freedom of information requests since I started as mayor. I mean, we fulfilled a lot, but thankfully we have till November to post them, so we can keep those.
Do you have any idea who the contact person is?
Well, I think I have to make it to Dennis, because he's the clerk, and right now he is the one who tries to maintain it, but of course, without having somebody in accounting, and we're trying to do the budget, right now we're trying to do payroll, and then we got month-end things, and now next month we got year-end, all this year-end stuff to close out, plus all these construction projects, keeping track of all that money and making sure everybody's getting paid and everything's getting done on time. I'll say, it has been a struggle for me, and for us, because normally, Kevin Dorwart did all this stuff, plus he did a lot of the other things that we've already picked up. So, we're not gonna hire a new person to do this, and of course, I'm not gonna, if we do find a director of operations, I'm not gonna say, oh, and by the way, you gotta take care of the website, so we're just gonna have to take some time and figure it out, because, it's just stuff that we have to comply with, and I was just surprised that I hadn't heard anything about it, and then it's gonna be required in just 6 months.
Is that also, the county has to do that?
Yeah, everybody does, yeah. I mean, so I'm assuming, the school board will too. I mean, when they make those requests, that they're gonna have the request published, and then when we provide the information, that will be published.
Well, if we have to budget for it, we're gonna have to figure out how much it's gonna cost.
Yeah, and I have no idea to figure out how much that's gonna cost. So that's why we'll have to have an IT person look at it, and, I am meeting with John Rubus in the morning, so maybe he'll have some direction for me too, but right now, I'm gonna say it's gonna take at least 6 months for this thing.
Yeah.
Just because of where we are, or where we aren't, I don't know which it is, but, anyway, so that was, the freedom of information request.
go home. 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
Did you need any of this, Brandon?
Yeah, actually, that would be great.